Thank you so much, Ioana, and great to be here and joining all of you. My name's Aditi Roy, and Dr. Tifer Tiller will be also presenting. I'm going to give you a really quick company overview, and Dr. Tifer Tiller will be going into more detail about a clinical trial that we just published results from. So I'm going to start by showing you a video just to kind of show you our forward-looking statements, and here we go.
Tonight, there's news of an incredible scientific breakthrough that gave a paralyzed man the ability to walk naturally again using his thoughts.
This breakthrough sounds like science fiction, but it's real.
Impressive is only putting it mildly. That's right. Researchers in Switzerland developed technology that linked his brain and his spinal cord.
So this breakthrough holds special significance for you.
It does, Michael. My dad was Christopher Reeve, and he suffered a spinal cord injury in 1995. I wish he were here today to see how far the research has come.
It works like this. When Oscar thinks about taking a step, a brain implant picks up the signals and sends them to a computer strapped to his back.
A computer analyzes them to predict how he wants to move, and then messages electrodes implanted in his spinal cord that allow him to make those movements.
Researchers are saying this is the first successful procedure of its kind, AI being used as a thought decoder.
We re-establish this communication with a digital bridge that transforms the thought into action.
He was so fast that the very first day we asked him to stand up and to do a few steps, and it worked.
Within 5 to 10 minutes, I could control my hips.
We were all in tears.
And that gives me a lot of freedom, which I didn't have with previous therapy.
His small steps, a potentially giant leap for patients with spinal cord injury.
A digital repair of the spinal cord. It is remarkable. Congratulations to you both. I think you're going to really change so many lives.
So it still sends chills up my spine to watch that video, and perhaps some of you are familiar with the work that was published last year in Nature Medicine, or actually just in Nature. Our BCI technology is obviously the most advanced technology that we have in our pipeline, but we do have therapies and innovations that are a little bit more proximal and are closer to commercialization. We're going to get into that in just a bit. I'll start with a brief company overview here. ONWARD at a glance. So we were founded in 2015. Are headquartered in the Netherlands with a science and engineering center in Switzerland. We have a growing US presence, and we are publicly traded on the Euronext in Brussels and Amsterdam. We have 3 main technology purpose-built neuromodulation platforms. I'm going to go into them in just a minute here, but we want to tell you that we have 10 FDA breakthrough device designations, and we have achieved clinical success. In just a minute, Dr. Tifer Tiller will be going into more detail about our Uplift pivotal trial, that the results of which were published in Nature Medicine just last month. So we'll talk more about that. We also have positive interim results from our ARC-IM therapy, which I'll tell you about, to improve blood pressure regulation. Commercialization, we have plans to commercialize our first therapy by the end of the year. We have submitted our ARC-EX system to the FDA for pre-market approval, so we'll talk more about that. But want to focus on the vision statement. Empowered by movement, people with spinal cord injury will enjoy life in the ways that matter most to them. That is our North Star, and that is what we build all of our technology around, is to serve the SCI community. I don't want to belabor this slide because I know that all the wonderful programming that you've seen over the last 2 days have covered a lot of this content here, but many of you know that the SCI community, there's so many unmet needs, and so our purpose at our company is to develop breakthroughs and therapies that can serve these unmet needs. Costly, the average lifetime cost we estimate for a tetraplegic is $5 million, for a paraplegic is close to $3 million. And we hope to address these unmet needs through our therapies. So our therapies really center around ARC therapy. That is targeted programmed electrical stimulation of the spinal cord to restore movement, function, and independence in people with spinal cord injury. We deliver ARC therapy through 3 platforms. So starting from the left here, ARC-EX, that is our external platform that delivers the therapy non-invasively through the skin. It rests right at the back of the neck here. And again, we just published full results from our UPLIFT pivotal trial in Nature Medicine, and Dr. Tiefertiller will go into more detailed results there. The second one that you see there is the ARC-IM system. You can see the device, the neurotransmitter, is implanted in the abdomen, and the lead there goes to the site of the affected region. And then the third platform you see is again that BCI platform, the ARC BCI platform, and the BCI there, we partner with CEA Clinitech for that BCI. They have 5 years of human data. And basically how it works is through, with the ARC-IM system, to the left there, it pairs with the ARC-IM system to enable thought-driven movement. And then some goals. Our company for the short term is focused on commercializing that first platform by the end of the year. And for medium term, our goals are to enter traditional commercialize our implantable platform sometime in 2026. We hope to start a pivotal trial for the implantable platform sometime next year. And in the long term is to expand labeling and platforms for new indications with those platforms, and also look into eventually commercializing the ARC BCI system, provided that it passes through all of the clinical stages, study stages. And so now I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Tiefertiller, who's going to go more into our pivotal trial results.
Thanks, Aditi. Nice to see everyone this afternoon. So I'm Candy Tiefertiller. I'm the Director of Research at Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado. And so I will share a little bit about our study. As Aditi pointed out, this is the ARC-EX stimulator platform, and that is what we used for the pivotal trial, non-invasive spinal stimulation. So we looked at 65 individuals across 14 different sites, and we defined effectiveness in terms of a responder category as individuals who met minimally important differences in at least one strength and one upper extremity functional category. So we were excited to see that 72% of individuals who were finished the trial were considered responders based on that definition. And then we also, importantly, from a safety perspective, we did not see any serious device-related adverse events reported within the trial. So we were really fortunate. We worked with 14 great centers across the U.S. and Canada to be able to do this. We actually did it during COVID, so it was pretty amazing that we were able to enroll those numbers and finish the trial during that time period. And so who did we actually see? So we saw individuals with spinal cord injury C2 to C8. They were on average about 47 years old. The majority of them were somewhere between 1 and 5 years post-injury. And we did have one individual who was 34 years post-injury. The sex differences were similar to what national statistics are. Over 80% of individuals were male. And then in terms of study withdrawals, we did have 5 individuals who withdrew from the study, but non-device related withdrawals associated. So the study design, they initially started the study. They did 2 months of functional task-specific practice alone. And then after the 2 months, we did an assessment to compare against their baseline assessment. And then we implemented ARC-EX therapy in addition to the same functional task-specific practice that they had done the initial 2 months for an additional 2 months of training. So then we took the 4-month assessment, and our primary endpoints were based on the 2-month assessment as well as the 4-month assessment. In terms of the functional task-specific practice, we had 6 domains that we had them practicing in. You can see them here. I think one of the really nice things about the study is they could work with their primary interventionist to determine what the specific tasks were that they were going to practice within those domains. So we really tried to make the tasks salient to the individual and the goals that they had. When you look at the results overall, again, 72% of individuals reported a minimally important difference in at least one strength and one functional category. but we had 90% of individuals who reported at least one improvement in at least one of those. So they either showed an MID in strength or in function. And then 87% of individuals reported an improvement in quality of life. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there was somebody who was 34 years post-injury who also demonstrated improvements. So I think that's exciting to see that maybe there's a wide continuum of individuals who may benefit from this type of therapy. Some examples of what people reported they improved. They were able to lift a filled cup in order to be able to drink from it. Some of the participants at Craig, they were all returning to work or had returned to work, and they reported more efficiency with typing and that they were able to type faster in terms of getting back to work and able to dress faster. So they were fastening buttons and just getting their clothing on faster. So things that were really important in the daily life of somebody with an injury. In terms of what type of stimulation people received, so the parameters were adjusted and individualized for each person. The majority of people had electrodes placed at C3, C4, and C6, C7, but they could have been placed a wide variety throughout the cervical region depending on their response. We also had 80% of individuals received biphasic stimulation rather than monophasic stimulation. Biphasic tended to be a little bit more comfortable for most people, and we were getting good motor results. And then generally, our group at least, we would then try monophasic stimulation if we were not getting as robust a motor response initially. And then I think another interesting piece is that the stimulation amplitudes were fairly low. So the majority of people were somewhere between 20 and 40 milliamps, which is not significantly high in comparison to some other studies. So in terms of our results, these are a little bit hard to see, but I want to just orient you that this gray line is the 2-month functional task-specific practice training alone. So that's where we did the baseline assessment and the 2-month assessment to see how much change had occurred during that time period. And you can see with the upper extremity motor score, then, so we didn't see a lot of change during functional task-specific practice alone. And then when we added in the ARC-EX therapy, we saw a really nice increase in that slope, a really nice significant change in upper extremity motor score. So you'll see there's a variety of outcomes here. I think, again, when we talk about, this morning conversation, we talked a lot about how important the sensory system is. And I think that's also one of the exciting outcomes that hasn't really been focused on from this research is that we did see significant improvements in sensory scores for this population, for this sample as well. We saw significant improvements in grasp prehension, QT, which is an upper extremity. So QT is more as an upper extremity functional measure, and grasp prehension is also a functional measure. And then we also saw improvements, significant improvements in pinch force and grasp force. So it saw a nice variety of improvements in terms of sensory, motor, as well as function. So I'll take just a couple minutes to talk about the next piece of this. So we added on an additional study once this trial was up and running because we started to see some really encouraging results. And my background is a PT before I got my PhD, and so I'm always looking for interventions that we can send into the home with people so that they can continue working on recovery even after formal rehabilitation is ended. So we did this Uplift home clinical trial. We sent 17 individuals who had completed the in-clinic study home with stimulators. We included the 5 top enrolling sites across the U.S. To send the stimulators home. And we really wanted to understand the extension, the potential extension of these effects once somebody got into their home environment. And again, as a PT who sent many, many written home exercise programs home with patients who probably never even took them out of their car, I was really excited to see that 96% of people, the sessions that were attempted were actually completed in the home. So we tried to mirror in-clinic dosage, and we asked people to stimulate 3 times a week for a 4-week period. And when you looked at the results, we pulled the stimulators back to see what they had actually done. And on average, they had completed 12 sessions during that month period, and each session was about 59 minutes long. So exactly what we had asked them to do. And then 66% of sessions were completed without any device issues. So I think we were all a little bit nervous about how the devices would work in the home, and for the most part, they did really well. There were some impedance issues that we generally were able to address over the phone with better electrode care and better skin prep, but overall, people did really, really well. And so in terms of our outcomes, So these were individuals who had completed the in-clinic study within 12 months of enrolling in the home study. We brought them back in, we did baseline assessments, and so added to our previous graph, you'll see kind of this dotted line here, which is the difference between their outcomes when they finished the in-clinic study and then when they started the home study. So you can see that most of the outcomes either plateaued or declined a little bit while they were at home, not continuing to stimulate. And then you can see, I think it was really exciting to see that we actually saw significant improvements in the QT, which is, again, an upper extremity functional measure, which exceeded what they achieved during the in-clinic portion of the study. We also saw significant improvements in pinch force, which also exceeded what they were able to achieve in the in-clinic portion. We did not see significant changes in the other outcomes, but the majority were able to reestablish that baseline assessment that they had achieved during the in-clinic portion outside of the other outcomes that they saw significant improvements in. So in general, I think it was exciting to see that along these two studies, 90% of individuals demonstrated significant improvements in at least one strength or one function category. 87% reported improvements in overall quality of life. And then we also saw some reports of reduced spasm. We've talked a lot about spasms the last couple of days. Reduced in spasm frequency, improved sleep, and improved sensation. And then one of the other exciting things with the home study is that we also saw people reported a significant decrease in pain interference during the month that they were using the stimulator in the home environment. So I think there's a lot of exciting opportunity there to look at this in terms of pain as well. And we're excited that, as Aditi mentioned, the stimulator is on track to be available by the end of this year. So I will stop and thank you for your time.